Good morning, friends. Good morning, nations. Oh, how my heart goes out to you guys. And good morning, the friends of CCI, the house of CCI. Fantastic. We've been talking about the mission of Christ. So Jesus raises from the dead, basically finishes his mission. There's one more point, and we'll talk about that later. And so now, here we are, or here Jesus is, risen from the dead and standing in his body. Isn't that fantastic? Now, in the tabernacle, when the tabernacle is revealed, it is really interesting to me. It starts with the piece that would symbolically be in heaven and finishes the piece that is symbolically in earth. Or starts with the Ark of the Covenant that's in the holiest of holies, and then comes progressively back to the ark or the altar of sacrifice, which is in the earth. Or if we were going to go from here to Kansas City, I'm in Monterey, so I would go to San Antonio, then I'd go to Austin, then I'd go to Dallas, then I would go to Oklahoma City, and then I would go to Kansas City. And if you were in Kansas City and coming to Monterey, you'd go through the same cities, but the reverse order. So now all of a sudden I begin to understand the mission a little bit different. Jesus starts in heaven and comes and finishes the work in earth. And so now I'm in the earth and I am starting to go back into something similar. And so my first thing is that I come to Christ and I unite myself to him. And as I unite myself to him, I am forgiven, as we've already talked about, in such a very, very powerful way. But not only am I forgiven, number two, I also have a new nature. Because of this resurrection dimension, I'm not only forgiven, but I am also incredibly born again. I also have the resurrection nature. In the Bible, we can call this two or three things. We can call this the resurrection nature. We can call this the new nature. We can call this the born-again nature. We can call this the new man. They're all the same. But this resurrection, not only the defeating of death, but the total forgiveness and then the resurrection. So I'm forgiven, I'm accepted, God is with me, and now the Father and I are one, just like John 15 says. Not because of something that I've done, but what Jesus did and gave it to me by the power of simple faith. Wow. So what Jesus produced, I have received by faith as an inheritance. That's what I said. What Jesus has produced, I have received by faith as an inheritance. Now, in the old world, there's still royal families. In some nations today, there's still royal families. Now, the first thing that is inherited in a royal family, what is it? The title or the distinction. In other words, of the distinction in the sense of an earl or of a countess or of a vice, a prince. And so this is the first thing that happens to you that you inherit when you are in the old world. And so you inherit a title, or you inherit a state, or you inherit a government. But not only that, what? You also, after that, in other words, today in England, there's a little boy, and he's a prince. And he has been given this title. He didn't produce it. It was given to him. And he will believe it, and it will work for him. This is the very same way that as you and I believe it, it will work for you. So Jesus has given me a state. And what is that state? That I'm one with the Father. The same way that Jesus is without sin, now I am without sin. The same way that Jesus is one and has the resurrection nature, I have the resurrection nature. So what I'm trying to get you to understand, what Jesus produced, I have received. And I have received it by simple faith. Isn't that fantastic? Now, that is where this is going. So Jesus finishes with the work on Calvary. I start with the work on Calvary. My first thing is what? I'm forgiven. My second thing, I have the Father's nature. I am a new man, a resurrected man. Third thing, that's what we'll talk about in the next one, And this really gets exciting. Bless you.